George Kelly was an American psychologist who developed personal construct psychology, which focuses on how we construct and reconstruct what our lives mean to us. For Kelly, it is the way we construe reality that guides both cognition and behavior, not the actual situation. Let's look at a few ideas. When the children enter your classroom, what do you think they are thinking about? Are they thinking about what they are going to learn today? What they were just talking about with their friends? What they are going to do after class? What they are going to have for lunch or dinner? Well, to Kelly, each child's mind is living in a unique reality, and each child's mind is moving in a unique direction. So they could be thinking about any of these things. What's the first thing we need to do if we have lesson targets to achieve today? We need to get the children to stop focusing on what they were thinking about when they entered the class, and decide to focus on our lesson, and decide to move in the direction of our lesson targets. I think we need to recognize that these are choices that each child is going to make or not make, often subconscious choices, but still choices. In fact, the children will be making choices throughout the lesson on whether or not to focus on each part of the lesson. How about the child who is not paying attention and just staring out of the window? That child is just as much an active learner as the children who are paying attention to the lesson, but has chosen to focus on a different thing. When the class is finished, that child may be totally engaged when chatting with her friends, or she may not be fully engaged until she goes home and sits down in front of her favorite computer game. When playing the game, she may be completely focused, trying things out and getting better and better at the game. She may not even need to pay much attention to any instructions, just getting better through trial and error. Why is it that she has chosen to be interested in the computer game, but not in our lesson? Why do any of us choose to focus on one thing rather than another thing? Kelly, like other constructivists, saw each of us as natural learners. Maybe when playing the computer game, the child is in more of a natural learning state than in our lesson. Maybe we need to bring more of those elements from the computer game into our lessons. Maybe our lessons need to more closely approximate the natural learning state of children. Let's look more closely at that child playing the computer game. She is playing. She is having fun. She is exploring. The environment is not threatening. She is making choices. She is probably being constantly challenged to move forward. She is dealing with new experiences through assimilation or accommodation. So the game contains many of the elements that humanists and constructivists have identified as being important when children learn. So what can Kelly add to this? How can his ideas help us in the classroom? At the core of his theory is a long word beginning with A. Can you guess what it is? The first 3 letters are an insect. What insect begins with A? Can you guess the word? I'm asking these questions so as to build it up. It's a feeling we have before something happens. Maybe you guessed. The word is anticipation. According to Kelly, the direction our minds take and the way our minds move is determined by how we anticipate events. If you take just one thing away from this workshop that will make an enormous practical difference in your classes, unless you are fully aware of this already, it is to maximize anticipation. If you want children to choose to be focused on your lesson, maximize anticipation. This is a dimension to teaching that teacher-centered methods generally neglect. When a teacher explains clearly, models clearly, demonstrates clearly, does repetition drills, tells the children what they are going to learn before teaching it, gives answers too soon, or uses many other methods that are common in a teacher-centered classroom, the teacher is not letting the children anticipate enough. If instead we introduce new language targets through mystery and puzzles, or surprise the children with new language targets when playing a game, the children are much more likely to be engaged and interested in learning. According to Kelly, each of us constructs a mental model of how we think the world works. We do this by noticing patterns and replications, and we use this framework to anticipate and make guesses about new things we encounter. We choose to move in one direction rather than another if we anticipate that a particular direction will enhance our existing mental framework. This has many implications in the classroom. It implies that we need to try to understand the world of each of the children and connect the classroom experiences with those worlds as much as possible, so that the children feel that what they are learning is relevant to their existing mental framework. We need to draw the children into a lesson by building up their anticipation, and then connect language practice with the children's daily lives. Connect the practice with their genuine feelings. Connect new knowledge with prior knowledge. Connect, connect, connect. The more we can interlink new language targets with old language targets, the more genuine children's feelings are in the classroom, and the more anticipation there is throughout a lesson, the more effective our classes will be. Another implication for the English class is that we can be more optimistic about what children can achieve at any particular age than Piaget's stages of learning sometimes seem to suggest. If we can help children construct a complex, interconnected mental model of the English language that they have learned so far, by helping them connect new language targets with old language targets, and by approaching new language targets from various directions, such as by integrating the 4 skills of listening, speaking, reading and writing, or by varying the methods we use, such as by sometimes using music, sometimes flashcard games, sometimes logical exercises, sometimes moving around, their ability in English should exceed what it normally would have been for their age. Vygotsky. I will just deal with one of Vygotsky's ideas here. The ZPD, the Zone of Proximal Development. The ZPD is especially important for teachers of children to know about, because it has had such a big influence on the way children are taught. Vygotsky was writing in Russia in the early 20th century, and his ideas have probably suffered from censorship during the time of Stalin, and from inaccurate translation into English. but he is generally regarded as a pioneer of social constructivism. He thought that higher mental functions develop through cultural interaction and communication with others. He saw children as having the potential to develop beyond what might be considered normal for a particular age, if they have the right kind of social interaction. He argued that at any point in time, a child can reach a certain developmental level independently, but there is a zone beyond this level that the child has the potential to reach. The key factor for a child to reach into this zone and so reach her full potential is interaction with a more knowledgeable person. This person can be an adult or another child. In most English classes, it is usually the teacher. Scaffolding. The quality of the interaction with the more knowledgeable person is important. In the classroom, the technique teachers use for interacting with children in a way that helps them reach their full potential is called scaffolding. The term scaffolding was not introduced by Vygotsky, but it is the term widely used when applying his ideas in the classroom. The term scaffolding and the ZPD itself are often referred to in both more teacher-centered and more constructivist child-centered approaches to teaching. The constructivist interpretation of scaffolding would be, for example, in the English class, the children are constructing their understanding of English. They are building a mental framework of how they think English works. The teacher is not doing the building. The children are. The teacher is providing the scaffolding that enables the children to construct the building. The children don't learn by following the teacher. They learn by exploring, testing things out, and discovery. The teacher needs to put as many new challenges in their path as possible, so that they are moving forward as fast as possible and reaching their full potential. The teacher needs to know the child's current level and know as much about the child's world as possible and help a child build from there in steps, just like having scaffolding for each of the floors of a building. The teacher needs to make sure the children encounter new language targets of an achievable level, and may need to guide or give hints, but then withdraw so that the children can use the language targets by themselves. This is like removing the scaffolding from a building. In this workshop, I introduced some alternative ideas about how children learn. All the other workshops in this program will be underpinned by the constructivist child-centered approach.